How is Bowman not in jail?
Well, the thing is, he was a school principal, and he would never, ever do anything
in all seriousness,
wrong.
how is it that this man committed a crime
because it
on
didn't
camera?
really stop it.
How is it that this man committed a crime? Everybody saw on video him commit the crime. He lied about committing the crime, and Republicans have done nothing.
Because technically, it didn't really stop. Technically, I asked the one lawmaker, and he told
That
me
had nothing to do with what I asked.
No. I asked one lawmaker why he didn't get arrested, and he told me
Pulling a firearm is illegal.
Right? Yes, but they said because it didn't. When he pulled a fire alarm, it didn't happen when they technically was voting.
That has nothing to do with what I said.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the only reason why they were able to skid that loophole. That's what they told me.
That's not a loophole. Right. That's wrong. So pulling a fire alarm falsely anywhere is illegal.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're in Congress or in a school. Jamal Bowman did it and lied about it. The only reason he's not in jail is because there's a criminal.
I'm just telling you the information that they told me.
Yeah, right. But that's like, that makes no sense. It's like saying, why didn't the guy get arrested for stealing the sandwich? Because it was Friday. What? The location of the Capitol has nothing to do with whether or not it's illegal to pull a fire alarm. The issue is that there are criminals occupying the government, and there's no good men or women willing to do their jobs. Not a single Capitol police officer took it upon themselves to make an arrest. Look, if a Capitol police officer has the ability to arrest someone for walking, entering the building unlawfully, like breaking security, if a cop has the ability to issue a citation for driving of their own volition, if a cop has the ability to arrest you because they witnessed you obstructing a roadway, a Capitol police officer could just walk up, arrest Bowman, and say, "We saw you on camera do it." There's no investigation needed. But there is not a single good man in the Capitol Police who will actually criminally take it upon himself to enforce the law.
Yeah. And George Santos was the only one who introduced expulsion papers for Jamal Bowman.
What is this reality we live in where in order for a crime to be, for a law to be enforced, you require some kind of act of Congress. If a cop witnesses someone falsely pull a fire alarm, he will arrest that person. No question anywhere. Jamal Bowman did it.
Yeah.
A single Capitol officer nowhere just said, I'm going to arrest the guy.
I haven't looked at it in a couple of weeks, but he did get some kind of plea deal where he's on probation. He has to go to court in 3 months. Like, there was something that he got cited for.
Right. Fair point. You got to slap on the wrist.
But that was the thing. He pled to this plea. It came out, whatever else. He released a statement being like, I basically did nothing wrong, but of course I respect whatever.
And then the evidence
came out that it wasn't just that he pulled the fire alarm, it was that he removed the sign saying don't use this door or whatever, and then pulled the fire alarm.
He lied.
And that was sort of where I wanted more furor from the Republicans. But I guess at that point,
again, they're chihuahuas.
And again, the Republican that introduced them has now been expelled from Congress. It's kind of crazy. It doesn't really make sense. But again, like at a certain point, there's the lack of follow through. Like you're kind of alluding to this with the border stuff. Like the Republicans need to see things through to the end. And I just don't know that that's what they're going to do.
They need to stop barking and start biting.
Yeah.
It's not, now time is like game time to start being like Trump. Like if you really want to like back your action, you've been barking. We had the most embarrassing Republican led House and Congress to have the least amount of bills passed last year. You know how much times that's going to be used against Republicans? Used against Republicans this year? For the House seats.
But that's the only. You're saying that they should have done more stuff because I don't feel like
they didn't pass a lot of bills. First of all,
is that necessarily awful? Like, what
it looks bad. The headlines looks bad.
The headline looks bad, but like in effect, do we want the government to just be continuously passing tons and tons of bills more than the year before? Like, I don't necessarily.
The
want
only bills
more
they passed was like changing the post office name and adding a new street. That's what I'm saying. Like they were the least productive Congress in the past couple decades.
That's actually a good thing.
Right. But I'm saying they can't say that like we done this. They
can't point to their record.
They can't
say
point
we did
to
nothing.
It.
We don't want them to pass. We don't want them to
saying.
pass bills. We want them to pass like criminal referrals.
Right, but I'm saying like you can't say like we did this. We passed the most border enhanced security bill ever. We done this. We've helped pass Ukraine aid. We helped pass Israel aid. Like you look at all the Republicans that made all these videos for like Christmas to
not pass
and again,
like
they passed it in the House, but they didn't. It's not going to go to the Senate. Stop taking credit for something that didn't happen.
But the thing is, like, it's not that I think they should be productive. I think there are certain things that they should prioritize. Like I said, with the border, it seems like they're using it to stop Democrats from getting more funding out of the country. And also they know that ultimately everything will fail in the Senate. I mean, it's a weirdly unproductive time because we're sort of staring down the barrel of another presidential election. Republicans only have control of the House by a very slim majority. I mean, when, what's his name? Bill Johnson, the guy from Ohio who just announced he's retiring in like 3 weeks. When he leaves, there's only 219 Republicans to 213 Democrats. So there's a certain level of like, yes, I would like them to do more. On the other hand, I don't actually believe this could be a highly productive time.
But just don't make
anyway.
it seem like it's semantics that you actually did something when you actually did nothing. You know, back up your claims.
Yeah,
that you've done
we need the ones that are like limited government. Look, we did nothing. Hooray!
I like that.
Exactly.
I
That's
like
what I'm
that a
saying.
lot.
I'd rather be like,
We
hey, we got
passed
nothing
no
done.
aid bills. How about that?
But
Yeah.
I think there will be Republicans that can't. They're like,
Yeah.
look, I successfully blocked the Ukraine
Yeah.
additional Ukraine.
That is
aid.
doing something. By
That-
doing nothing, you have done something.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I don't
take
want
credit
laws
for
just to
something
be
that's
like
nothing.
I just don't want like the goal to be like Congress has to say we passed more bills than last year.
But
because
the
what are
problem
you
is with the
passing?
average American, it looks so bad. If you're a political guy like us, like we're so into this stuff, like we cheer this on. But then you ask like the regular average Joe in America, they're gonna be like, we pay their salary and they did nothing. It's just the semantics look bad.
Maybe. I don't know if all Americans would feel that way though. I mean, I think
Though it just-
there is
just-
enough distrust of government because like we want to look back at COVID when they passed all kinds of things and said all kinds of crazy
Yeah.
stuff. Like I think there is a growing distrust of the federal government where people would say like maybe we don't want a lot of stuff
But if you tell
happening.
average American like, hey, this was the least productive Congress, just leave it like that. There's where that's how you just have to twist one word. And then it changes everything.
The only productivity
and
you want
Republicans have the
is
worst communications.
criminal referrals, investigations, and subpoenas.
But where's it leading to?
Well, they're not doing it.
Won't matter anyways. We're coming up on a time eventually where nothing will matter unless either party has a super majority because everybody's voting on party lines so often now anyways.
The hyperpolarization in this country,
Yeah.
there's a chart going viral on Twitter showing political ideology by profession. And in the 10 years, it's just, there's no middle anymore. It's gone. And I've been saying this for a while. There's no middle anymore. Doesn't matter. You're left or you're right.
And that Gen
That's
Z
it.
is proving this. That's what I was saying earlier in the show. Like Gen Z is also drifting apart from itself. There is a disappearing moderate class in this country.
Well, remember
It's gone already. The data shows it's gone.
It's crazy.
But remember the voting statistics, which said like women said the biggest red flag is if the guy they might date supports Trump or Republicans, and the men said like the biggest red flag is if she's a communist.
yeah.
Yep.
Hey, listen, my biggest red flag,
You know
if
what
I'm on the dating app and
Yeah.
he says he's a liberal or he has he, she, they, where, what, when, where, why.
But you know what
Swipe left.
You know what I realized is
Done.
really funny is that, growing up, the trope was that men are sex obsessed. And the meme is, men only want one thing. It's disgusting. And then you start to realize when you watch comedy videos, it's actually totally the other way around. Guys are object oriented and totally interested in sports, numbers. They actually don't talk all that much about women. And women talk about nothing but guys.
Men have like a lot of like unique hobbies that end up binding them together with their friends.
So I look at these comedy videos, and so I follow a bunch of comedians on Instagram. I get a ton of comedy videos. 90% of the clips that come from a guy will be about an issue, and like it could be about anything. Like with Dave Chappelle, look at his jokes. He's joking about Madison Cawthorn handicap. He's talking about Andy Kaufman and Jim Carrey, telling life stories. All of these female comedians, the joke is they're always just talking about their vaginas. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's a crass way of putting
basically
it.
for the shock factor.
Yeah.
But every single female comedian, when I'm on Instagram and I hit refresh and I'm seeing all these comedians, if there's a female comedian, I know that if I hit it, she's gonna be talking about dating a guy. I know if it's a guy, it could be anything. And the reason I bring that up is because as we're looking at the bifurcation of politics between men and women, I believe it's going to result in this country moving conservative for the reason of women are more subject oriented and more time constrained on having a partner. Men are not. So if a guy says, I don't like commies, he just won't date anybody. But around 30 to 35, when women start getting, the biological clock is ticking and they want to have kids, they have to start trying to find a guy. But if guys are skewing to the right, those women will have to adapt themselves to the guy, not the other way around.
Yeah. Okay. So you ever heard of the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus?
Yes.
So one of my favorite points in that book was the psychologist John Gray points out that when men go to lunch, they're typically going to talk about a specific problem. They're like, there is a purpose to it, right? They're meeting. There's something to do. Women go and they just sort of gather a lot of information, right? It's
And
one
they
of the reasons
gossip.
like the stereotypical like girls can be on the phone with their friends for hours and hours because they're wired to do different things, and I think both are valuable, but they play out very differently in society. Like,
Well, look at a Family Guy has the joke where Peter Griffin gets injected with the gay gene as part of a clinical trial. And then he calls Quagmire, and he's like, hey, Glenn. And Glenn's like, yeah. And what you doing? What do you mean? You called me. And that just shows you like the joke of the difference between the feminine approach to calling someone versus the guy. It's like, you called me. What do you want?
yeah. But it's
Just to
just totally
talk.
different. And I think that, these things could be good. The problem is that feminism has really made it so that women are trying to compete with men in male spheres. They don't just do things that are natural to women and like them. it sort of makes it so like the best female comedians that I know actually have some really interesting social observations, right? Like when Ali Wong, who does talk about her vagina a lot, would talk about trying to trap her Harvard educated husband or Harvard business school husband. It was really funny, right? Because the way women talk about like the way they approach dating when it's not necessarily about their sexual approach to dating can be really nuanced, can be really interesting because it gives you an insight into something you may not know. It's the same thing with male comedians.
I don't watch female comedians anymore.
I don't know why you would.
Because dude, she's gonna be talking about a guy she dated, and I'm just like,
all right.
That's look.
You can ask a random girl on the street, and she'll tell you the same thing that comedian just had.
But it's totally fine if this is what women find funny. Hearing another woman talk about her boyfriend. For me, I'm like, that's why we were talking on the members only show about this one female comedian who made a joke about homelessness, and I'm like, that was a really, really good joke. And but it's just like, we talked about this.
Yeah.
But I swear I'm on Instagram and I'm going through it, and I'll hit a guy's joke, and he'll be like, so my car broke down or something like that. And you're like, oh, wow, what happened to your car? And I'll be telling a story like I was going to the supermarket and this guy was trying to buy this Coca-Cola, right? And I'm like, oh, what's this story about buying a Coca-Cola? Something that happened. And then I click the woman and she's like, so my boyfriend, here's the trick. My boyfriend. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. It's just unrelatable to me. And that's fine. You're allowed to like these things. But anyway, aside from all of that, no more whinging about female comedians. The point is what I've started to see with these social trends, when we've learned this from Instagram, women care substantially more about social, how you fit in socially than men do. I think we've known this for a long time. What this means is a guy will be 35, sitting there like, yeah, you know what? I want to vote for Trump. These women don't like it. Whatever, I guess. And these women are going to be going, I'm 35 and I need to find a husband, but all of these guys are into Trump. What do I do? Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.